We're going to do the scale builder for the vintage ripple with spike stitches. So this is a vintage ripple spike stitch. We're going to be practicing these spike stitches. We're not going to be doing the ripple part. There isn't a separate scale builder for that, which I'll link up here somewhere. This is a lovely blanket. This is actually going to be a shawl for me, but this is a lovely pattern. If you're not comfortable with spike stitches, I don't recommend doing this ripple until you're comfortable with spike stitches. So let's get comfy with the spike stitches by making a nifty little mug rug. Actually, let me bring this back out while I get this started so you can get the idea. So imagine we're not doing this on a ripple, and we're just going straight. So we're just going to make one repeat of this as our mug rug. So you'll see we have a single, and then we have these singles that are actually done into the rows below. So we want to do our first single and then down 1, 2, 3, 4, up 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 stitches for our repeat. Then we're going to do 9 more. I like to have an additional 1 on each end. So we're basically doing a repeat of 2 single crochets, then our spike stitches, 2 single crochets, spike stitches, 2 single crochets. So we're going to do 20 chain stitches to make our base, plus 1 so we can up and come back. So if you are making something bigger than a mug rug with this, you'll want to do repeats of 20 plus 1 at the end. And that's going to look like this. So let's make our knot there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, plus 1. We're going to single crochet back. So we're going to skip that first chain, single crochet into the second chain from the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Get myself a little more yarn there. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Now, if you made too many, no worries. It's okay to make too many chains. We would just pick out that original little knot and tighten it again. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. If you made not enough, you can do a foundation single crochet, which means you would put, I'm going to do this very ugly, I apologize in advance for those of you who are really good at it. You would put your hook in that bottom where you can see the V's. You would pull up a single crochet or a chain stitch, pull 1 time through, and then pull again through to make a single crochet. I don't like foundation single crochets. No worries if you do. I don't have anything against you. I think you're an amazing person, but I find them frustrating because they never look quite right to me. But that's me. That's not you, and you can do what's comfortable for you. What we're going to do is 4 more rows of single crochets, and that's going to set up our base. Let me bring back that original blanket here. Let me show you the baseline. That's going to set up this base section that we can then do our spike stitches onto with the next row up. So let me pull that off here. And then you probably don't want to watch me single crochet for the full time it's going to take me to do 4 more rows. So we're going to stick this on fast forward.
These mug rugs are great. I am recording this in January 2021. These are great Christmas gifts, but also great scrap projects. Scale builders are a fun thing we can do, especially just after Christmas when we have tons of scrap sitting around the house. You may want to count yourself the first couple times you're doing this to make sure you're not adding or removing any stitches. One, two, three, four. Perfect. All right, almost to the end of this section.
All right, so here we are at the end of our first section. So now we have 5 rows of single crochet. Now I like 5 because I don't want to go into the bottom of the top of the next color when we're going up to more. But you'll find with spike stitch, you have a lot of wiggle room. You have a lot of what makes you the most comfortable, what do you like the best, and how you want it to look. Once you're comfortable with spike stitch, you may want to experiment with one more or less row in your subsequent colors to see if you like it, or maybe not doing 2 singles between your repeats. It's really up to you and how you like it to look. And our goal here is to get comfortable with spike stitch, so then you can start to play with it. And these mug rugs are a great way to play with stitches. So let's change colors. I'm going to change to a gray somewhere over here to my side. I have my next color. Oh, it's right here in my lap. Ah. There we go. So I'm going to take my current working yarn and bring it over just like I would normally do to make a chain stitch. And then I'm going to take my new yarn. I'm going to put a few inches of it behind, the end behind, new working yarn over, single crochet them both together. I find this gives me a nicer edge. Your mileage may vary. Then I'm going to take both ends. You have both the white and the gray here on my hook. I'm going to treat those as one stitch, one chain, and take both bits of my gray, bring those through. You do whatever makes you the most comfortable, what you like. If you already have a way that you like to add new colors on, do that. I'm not here to change your life. If you already have something you're comfortable with, maybe you don't. And if you don't, it's not great for you. Now let's turn and go back. We're going to single crochet back across. So I'm going to drop that other gray out. So just have my working yarn and let both tails sit there, and I'll sew those in later or bring those in. oh, you know what? I got ahead of myself. Let's not do this yet. Here's my first single crochet. Now we're going to do our spike stitches. Now, if I was not doing spike stitches, I would probably single crochet over top of this gray because that will kind of hide it. And I don't have to kind of sew it in later. But with small projects like this, sometimes it's nicer to just sew them in. I start a spike stitch. I have a little mantra with spike stitch. It's down and over. So I want to get in. See how well. I might have to put my little purple mitt here behind it, my hand here behind it. So you now have this little grid you've created with your single crochet holes. So all these little rows below. So I went into this. See if I can bring, you know what I have. What do I have around that is not white? Shouldn't be that difficult on this desk. Aha. Hold on, let me turn my planner the way around, close it so I can use that, the blackness, the darkness. Normally we don't work with black, but because we're doing a white here on a white desk, you can see when I kind of whip that open or spread it out, you can see those little holes. So I'm going into this stitch here. For the next one, I'm going to go down a row and then over. to get almost like you're doing graph paper. So it's down and over. And we're going to put our hook through there. We're going to grab this at the back, bring it through, give it a nice tug so it's not too tight. We're tugging with the hook, not with our working yarn, and pull it through. Do not worry if this is loose. You can never be too loose with this. Maybe you could be if you tried. But really, when you're first starting, you're probably going to be too tight. So don't be afraid to take it out and do it again, or just kind of really give it a good, give that first initial, you still have two loops on the hook, give that a good tug to make sure that you have that nice and elongated, and then pull through. We're ready to go where our current stitch is, that spike we just made. We're going to go down one and then over one, put our hook through. Again, give it a good tug up and then pull through two. Down and over, pull up, pull through. Down and over, whoop, down one, over one, push it through, pull our loop up. Now this middle one's going to be really wanting to get too tight. So really do give it a good tug up here and pull through. All right, so we should have 5 stitches made so far, our first single, and then spike 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to spike back up to our current working row. And we're going to do that by going over and up. So we're going to do the same counting back up. So we're going to go over, up, pull, through, over, up, pull, through, over, up, pull, through, over, up, and we're back up at the current row we're working in. So we're down to just a basic single crochet. Now we're going to repeat that. So you can see what we've done so far. We have single, spike 1, spike 2, spike 3, spike 4, spike 5, spike 6, spike 7, back to single. Now when I do this, I'm going to do my count with the way I count this with the next set. So I'm going to single. So I'm going to do a full repeat. Again, if as you're going and you're learning, getting comfortable, you might not want to do two in the middle. Decrease your repeat count by 1 for each repeat you're doing, and don't put an extra one. Don't make this symmetrical the same way that I am. I apologize if you hear that someone in my neighborhood is shooting off fireworks like a lunatic. So we have 2, down 1, over 1. So I'm doing 1, down 1, 2, down 1, over 3, down 1, over 4, down 1, over 5, over, up 1, 4, over, up 1, 3, over, up 1, 2, over, up 1, single. And I just realized I got to the end of this row and I made a mistake. I really intended to have 2 singles at the beginning. So let's start this row over and we'll practice this one more time. So we're going to do 2 singles at the beginning and we'll do our mantra. So we have single 1, down, over 2, down, over 3, down, over 4, down, over 5, then over, up 4. We're counting back. Over, up 3, over, up 2, over, up 1. And there we've got our full repeat. Again, I forgot, my apologies, that I was going to do 2 at the beginning. So I have 2 singles, I have my spike stitches, and I have another single, single, and I'm going to go but down. Down, over 2, down, over 3, down, over 4, down, over 5, over, up 4, over, over, up 3, over, up 2, 2, over, up, one, and then our last to do the whole row. Now we'll know that we did it right if we came out with needing 2 single crochets at the end to end off our row. If we didn't do it right, we can go back and fix it. So here we have single, single. We're going 1 spike, so spike 1 row below, spike 2 row below, spike 3 row below, spike 4 row below, 3 row below, 2 row below, 1 row below, single, single, 2, 3, 4, single, 1 row below, 2 row below, 3 row below, 4 row below, 3 row, 2 row, 1 row, single, single. And that's how we do our spike stitch. So all we're going to do then is go back with 4 rows of single crochet, and then we'll repeat this, and then we'll do 4 rows of single crochet. And then if you like, you may want to go back with 1 more row of spike stitch in white or whatever colors you're doing. And that will give you another set of spikes on your mug rug. Or maybe you don't want to do that. You just want to end it at whatever color you're doing. You do whatever makes you happy. So I will take my planner off my table, and I'm going to finish up this round, and then I can show you what it's going to look like at the end. So let's go up, and I'll fast forward through all this. So you don't
I will note, I mean, probably not listening to me right now. You're probably hearing me super fast forward and you're scrubbing forward yourself, or you have this on higher rate. This row is going to feel really loose, and that's okay. I'll mention that again while I get to the color change. I'm recording, we're going to do this. You can ask me a question. One, two, three, four. One more row. This color. Oh, there's the sun coming in. I gave you a chance to ask me a question. So, find the reason why I'm video. During the fast forward portion, I'm dealing with a snag in my line. Oh, weird. Wicked snag. Yeah, we'll skip this part. Find out. We'll find out together. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm actually doing. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the last one. It says so weird. Give it until I have to stop recording.
All right. The next thing that we're going to do is change colors again, and then we're going to go back with our spike stitch in our next color. Now, if you're curious on how big this has gotten so far for me, I pull out my handy dandy wrist ruler. Now I'm going to do this over the middle where my spike stitch is, and that is 6.5 inches, and 2 sections has taken me 2.5 inches. So I may actually do that 4th section of white eventually. You'll see it in the thumbnail, and I might pull it up at the end. Let's switch our color. I'm going to use a lovely green color as my next color in this. Whoop, as I drop it on the floor. This green is lovely, and it's a nice light color. So we're going to take this working yarn, new working yarn through, drop out my gray, move in my green, pull this over because my wrist gets cold. Find my scissor. There we go. Snip. Move that off. So this is a pattern that would look good in a variety of colors, maybe all different colors, or alternating 2, 3, 4 colors. The blanket that we're doing as a skill builder for was done with originally 4 colors in the sample I saw. So here we go, our spike stitch down and over 1, down and over 2, down and over 3, down and over 4 rows below. We're going to go over and up, over and up, over and up, over and up, single, single, and we're going to do the same thing below. So in the end, we'll have 2 singles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So single down 4, up 3, single, single. And you'll see it matches what we have here. So it gives the illusion in this kind of a standard use of this spike stitch, it gives the illusion that we have a ripple happening, even though we don't actually have a ripple. In the way it works in the vintage one is they end up alternating because of how the stacking of the way it's stacked in a ripple, those increases and decreases. So I'm just gonna fast forward now through all this again, so you won't have to hear me talk about this. I'll let you finish off listening to me do this row. Down and over 2, down and over 3, down and over 4, whee, over and up 1, over and up 2, over and up 3, yep, and then single, single. And then we'll do 4 more rows of single crochet, and then we'll do a section of white, and that will be the whole thing. So I will come back before the end at the end of the video, and I'll pop on so you can see what the finished project looks like. But you don't need to sit here and watch me make single crochets. You can tell it's the next day. I have different clothes on. I have these are just doggy boobas. I have puppies. They're still working on not being nippy. So that's all that is. Here's what we did yesterday. This is a little dark, so I'm going to see if I can bring it a little closer. You can see it a little better. You can see I've added a dark blue on top of our jade blue, on top of our light green, on top of the gray. So we had ended off at the beginning of the green. And now you can see the other colors a little better. So this is what I have finished off with. I wanted to show you again real quick. I say again, like I showed it to you already in this video, but in another one of my videos, I talk about how I put in my ends. And I wanted to show you specifically for this one because I find that putting in ends is a little bit different in the spike stitch. Simply because you don't want to put your ends inside of this first row for the gray. You don't want to put it into the spike stitch row. You want to put it in the one above the spike stitch row. So it's just a little bit more fiddly with that. Also, when you are putting in that ending end, when you finish that section and the spikes just come down the next one, you want to be careful that you're not accidentally putting in your end over top one of those spike stitches. You're not catching it and coming over top. So as you're probably already comfortable, or maybe you're not, I don't know your life, when you're putting in your ends, you're kind of putting your needle, this is a yarn needle, so it's not pointy here. It's got a point, but it's a rounded point. This is a smaller one. I usually use something a little bit bigger, like one of these, but these aren't, these plastic ones are a little bit frictiony against this particular yarn in a single crochet. So we're going to go ahead and use this one. So when I put this in, I like to put it into like that middle section of the stitch, the little like middle bit, and you can see on both sides it doesn't show through. So I'm going to try to push it in through there. When we come to where we have one of those spike stitches, just double check that you haven't accidentally overlapped that on the back or the front. It's not such a big deal when we're putting these in if we overlap some of the yarn because it's the same color when we're weaving into the same color. We want to make just double sure that we're not accidentally catching one of those spike stitches. And then I'm just going to pull that through. give that a tug in both directions. And then again, we're gonna capture some yarn and push it back through. Before I put that in, I'm just gonna double check that my needle's not overlapping any of those spike stitches. I usually roll my yarn through my fingers real quick to make it a little bit tighter before I stick it through. And then tug it back through, give it a tug, and then snip off any excess and give it another quick tug. So that's what we do there. Now, I did not pull my yarn very tight when I did that end, so it's a little bit nubby to me, but honestly it looks just fine. I just should have pulled that a little bit tighter when I was weaving that end in. So now let's weave in our yarn at the spike stitch end. So where this yarn color, normally we would go right in to this bottom row, but that can end up popping out into these spike stitches. So what I do is I put my yarn up into that next row above the spike stitches and come through, and I usually do it with the wrong side of the work showing. I want to make sure here as I get to this spike stitch I don't accidentally pop my yarn out and overlap it, and I'm going to check that on both sides. I can see I came out a little bit there, so I'm going to pull that back through and try again. And I'm going to actually stop right before my spike stitches there and just double check everything looks good on both sides. No needle pointing out. This is one of the reasons I like to use a differently colored needle than my yarn. So a lot of times your yarn needles will come in like a blue plastic or silver. If I'm working on a blue project, I'll use one of my silver needles. If I'm working on anything other than a blue project, I'll use one of the blue ones because it kind of extends a little bit more than the silver. And I'm just going to grab this middle bit here and put it back through. Pop it out the other end, give it a quick tug to make sure it's loose in there. Snip, and we're done. So there we have our finished project. My needle's in here. Now this might need to be put under like a book or something because it's small and it has a little curl. So I might need to block that or just give it a quick wash and then it'll probably be just fine. If you find you have too much curl, putting an edging around is really handy. And that can really just take some of that curl out for you if you want to give it like a single crochet edge all the way around. If you make a lot of plain blankets, like plain single crochet blankets or moss stitch, spike stitch can actually make a really nice edging. So you want to think about that as well. All right, thank you guys so much. Do enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for stopping by. Happy stitching.